Resource Management and Consumer Studies Unit 2. Textiles. Textiles are fabrics and are widely used for clothing and household purposes. Our learning outcomes for Unit 2. In this unit, you will learn about why we wear clothes and why we use fabrics in the household. We will look at the points to consider when choosing textiles. You will understand how fabrics become clean when washed. You will classify fabrics. We will look at the safety points you should take into consideration when choosing textiles and the fire safety order. What are the functions of clothing? Safety. We wear clothes for protection from injury, infection, fire and chemicals. For example, firefighters must wear protective clothing when working. For weather protection, clothes offer protection from rain, wind, cold and sun. For example, people wear ski clothes to protect them from the cold weather when on the slopes, or sun hats as a shade from the sun in hot climates. For modesty, society expects people to wear a minimum amount of clothing for modesty. This varies from culture to culture. For example, in Iran, women must wear hijabs in public areas, whereas in some African tribes, women only wear grass skirts. For identification, certain clothing or uniforms indicate a person's role. For example, we can see nurses or guards straight away with their uniforms. For hygiene purposes, all areas of food production and preparation require protective clothing. Protective clothing is important in food preparation to prevent contamination and maintain high standards of hygiene. And finally, for self-expression. Clothes allow people to express their personality. For example, colourful clothes will express confidence, or jerseys can show a person's favourite soccer team. Functions of household textiles. For decoration, a variety of colours, patterns and textures are provided by soft furnishing. These make a room look better by adding interest and design. Privacy. Soft furnishings like blinds or curtains prevent others seeing into homes and provide privacy. For comfort, cushions and blankets provide comfort. Carpets are often more comfortable than solid wood on floors. For warmth, blankets and duvets provide heat, especially important in winter months. Lined curtains also prevent drafts and keep heat in. And for protection, fabric oven gloves can prevent burns in the kitchen, and non-slip mats can prevent slips in the bathroom. What factors must we consider when choosing textiles? We must firstly look at suitability for purpose. The properties of fabric must be considered to ensure the fabric chosen is suitable for its purpose. For example, curtains should drape well. The cost. The amount of money available determines the quality and type of fabric that can be purchased. For example, a silk scarf is generally more expensive than a cotton scarf. Care and cleaning. We must consider the fabrics that can be machine washed, as they are easier and cheaper to maintain than fabrics that must be dry cleaned. Individuals should also consider stain-resistant fabrics for clothing and home furnishings. And durability. The level of durability or hard wearing is required for fabric depends on the amount of use that the fabric will receive. For example, carpets for the front entrance hall should be durable because it will endure most traffic. The scientific principles underlying fabric care. Detergents should be chosen which are suitable for the type of fabric. They come in liquid or powder form. Detergents contain surfactants, bleach, conditioners, fluorescents and enzymes. So we'll now look at what each of these are. A surfactant contains a hydrophilic head and a hydrophobic tail that reduce the surface tension of water. This allows the dirt to loosen from the fabric as the hydrophobic head attaches itself to the dirt or stain and keeps it suspended in the water. Conditioners soften fabric and eliminate the static or cling as they catch the fabric fibres. Bleach removes stains and brightens the clothing. Fluorescents enable a fabric to absorb ultraviolet light and create a visual whitening effect on fabrics. And enzymes break down protein-based stains, for example, blood, making it easier for the detergent to clean fabrics. Water is also important in the scientific underlying principle of fabric care. The type of water affects the efficiency of washing the fabric. Water can be removed from fabric by drip, line, or flat drying it, by wringing it, spin drying it, or tumble drying the fabric. Some fabrics need to be dry cleaned. Agitation is the movement needed to dislodge dirt or stains from the fabric. The level of agitation will depend on how dirty the fabric is. So the more dirty the fabric is, the more agitation you will need to get rid of the dirt. And the fabric softener or conditioner doesn't actually help the cleaning of the fabric, it just adds a pleasant smell or adds it to its softness, reduces the static electricity and wrinkling of the fabric. To classify the classification of fabrics. Fabrics can be divided into two categories, natural fabrics and human-made fabrics. Natural fibres come from plants or animals. An example of a fibre made from plants is cotton and from animal is wool. Human-made fibres can be synthetic. This is when the fabric is developed using oil, coal or chemicals. An example is polyester. Or artificial fibres, also known as regenerated fibres. And these fabrics are developed in labs from plants like wood or seaweed with chemicals added to them. An example is viscose. Now we'll look at the four of these in more detail. Wool is a natural fibre that comes from the animal. The properties include it is soft and comfortable, it is absorbent, it's weak when wet, it shrinks at high temperatures, it scorches easily, and it piles and felts easily. To care for wool, it can be hand or machine washed at 30 to 40 degrees with gentle agitation. It should be dried flat so it doesn't stretch. You cannot bleach wool. You should iron it with a cool iron and it should not be tumble dried. And we can use wool in clothes and home furnishing. Cotton is another natural fibre and it comes from the plant. The properties include that it is strong when wet, it's easy to dye, it's absorbent, it creases easily, it shrinks easily, and it scorches easily. To care for cotton, it can be hand or machine washed at up to 95 degrees. We can have high agitation. Bleach can be used. We can use a hot iron and it is suitable for tumble drying. We use it in clothes and home furnishings and household items. Polyester is a human-made fibre. The properties include that it has a good drape, it's non-absorbent, it is strong when wet, it's easy to wash, it is crease resistant, but it is prone to static build-up. To care for it, it can be washed at 40 degrees with gentle agitation. It should not be bleached and we use a cool iron and it cannot be tumble dried. Its uses in clothes, for example on hoodies or jackets, and home furnishings like bed linen or cushion covers. And viscose is a regenerated man-made fibre. Properties include that it has a good drape, so it hangs well, it's absorbent, it's weak when wet, it creases easily, it shrinks at high temperatures, and it is also prone to static. To care for it, it can be machine washed at 40 degrees with gentle agitation. It should not be bleached, use a cool iron, and it is suitable to tumble dry. Its uses in clothes would be dresses or suit jackets, and home furnishings would be carpets or rugs. Safety considerations must be taken into account when selecting household textiles. Many fabrics catch fire and burn easily, which lead to fatal consequences. Some fabrics and furniture filling emit toxic fumes when they're on fire. In order to reduce the risk of danger when selecting fibres, consumers should opt for fabrics that have been treated with a flame retardant finish. Ensure all foam fillings are combustion modified highly resilient foams, and choose low risk flammability instead of high risk flammability fabrics. Wool and polyester are low risk flammability fabrics. Wool smoulders and may self extinguish, and polyester ignites slowly and shrinks away from flames. Cotton and linen and silk are high risk flammability fabrics. They burn rapidly. Flame retardant finishes. These are applied to fabrics to reduce the risk of flammability. It allows the fabric to go out itself when removed from the flames. Examples of textiles that have flame retardant finishes are applied to children's nightwear and protective work clothing like firefighters' uniforms. There's two main types of flame retardant finishes. The first is a coated flame retardant finish. This is a cheap method and it's only applied to the outside of the fabric, so it's not permanent. It will wear away with washing. And the second is inherent flame retardant finishes. This is an expensive method as it's applied to the fabric before it is woven or knitted into the fabric, making it permanent. Proban is an example of an inherent flame retardant finish. It's applied to fabric fibres to make them flame retardant. Firstly, the fabric fibres are coated in a layer of Proban, which is a mixture of phosphorus and nitrogen compound. Then it's dipped into ammonia, which forms an insoluble substance which trapped in the fibres. This is what makes it flame retardant. If exposed to fire, the fibres break down and form an insulating layer around the fabric, preventing it from catching fire. Advantages of Proban are that it reduces the risk of the fabric igniting and the fabric self-extinguishes when removed from the flame. The Fire Safety Domestic Furniture Order 1988 and 1995. The purpose of this order is to reduce the risk of accidents related to household fire. The order applies to beds, cots, sofas, cushions, pillows, and prams. The fabric used on these items must pass fire safety tests like cigarette tests and match tests. Any foam fillings used must be combustion modified highly resilient foams. And a permanent safety label must be attached and clearly legible and durable, and a display or swing label also must be attached to any relevant item. What are the permanent labels? These are stitched onto the fabric and they should contain a warning message such as carelessness causes fire. They'll also contain the name and address of the manufacturer or importer, the manufacturer's ID and batch number so it's fully traceable back to them, a description of the filling and cover material used, and details of the fire-resistant interliner if used. An interliner is the material placed between the fabric on the outside of a piece of furniture and the filling material. Display or swing labels. These labels hang from the fabric and they are removable. The square label has a green border and indicates the filling and covering fabric has passed the match test and cigarette test. The triangle label has a red border and it indicates that the covering fabric has not passed the match test but that there is a fire-resistant inner liner present. Here's examples of both types of swing label. The purpose of the fire safety labelling is to inform the consumer and warn them about possible dangers and provide traceability information.